Hello and welcome in FIRE, from idea to reality and execution. In this video, you will learn how to make exciting presentations. Step 1. Know what you present. Before deciding to make a presentation, make sure you're well versed in a topic. And it doesn't just mean the text and topics of the presentation. It also means knowing and having additional information about the context, content and future development of the problem. You will often receive questions about your presentations that will need answers that are not contained in the text you have chosen to present, so you must be prepared. On the other hand, if you are asked about something you don't have enough knowledge about, don't be afraid to say that you don't have all the information you need at the time of the presentation. You can offer to keep in touch with the person and inform him later on the subject. Step 2. You need to know your audience, or at least know in advance who you are going to speak to. It's one thing to talk about your project with a sponsor, and another to present it to volunteers who will work with you. In addition to the activities, sponsors will also be interested in the visibility they receive or the ethical principles you promote. Volunteers will be interested in the opportunities they have to participate and will care less about the visibility of the project. You need a different presentation for each group. In addition, the vocabulary you should use, the graphic design of the presentation, the level of interaction, and all other elements of your presentation must be tailored to the person to whom you provide it. If you present too complex text to volunteers with a lot of technical information, they will not understand it and will get bored. If you present too simple information to people coming from the business environment, they will think that it's not serious and will ignore you. Before you prepare your presentation, the first question you should ask yourself is, what is the interest of my target group in this work? And focus your presentation on it. The second is, how can the public benefit from this information? And include that people will pay more attention to things they are aware of that can improve their lives in some way. Then be sure to consider their age, cultural and professional background, educational background, and any other aspect that may be relevant to what you will share. Step 3. Select the appropriate information. People have limited capacity to get new information, so if you bombard them with too much, you run the risk of not remembering anything. Presentation should be kept to a minimum with information that still provides what you want, but does so in the simplest and most concise way possible. After making a plan of what you want to include, take the content individually and ask yourself if each one is appropriate and how much the presentation will suffer if one or the other is missing. Step 4. Think about the experience, not just the content. Today, when the world is full of information and we are free to choose what and where to get informed, the challenges of being a presenter are huge. A good solution to remember is to not only deliver content to your audience, but also to deliver experience. You should definitely consider the aids you can use to create such an experience. Photos send a strong message far stronger than plain text, so they are welcome at all times. What will convince you that there is a problem with pollution in an area? Some statistics on pollutants or a photo of animals that suffer from it. They are widely available online, and there are many websites that offer them for free. An effective photo can dramatically improve how your audience perceives the information you are trying to convey. Moreover, presentations are not just in PowerPoint. Find ways to engage with your audience to create an experience. Examples and numbers allows viewers to understand more about context. The graphs helps you visualize the results. Bring people who can share their work and personal experience with you. Explain how the things you are talking about can be used in practice or create intense emotions through videos. Enter a short exercise to help your audience become more aware of their feelings, or to give them an opportunity to contribute to the presentation by providing the information themselves. Forget about simply delivering text. You provide an overall experience, and everything that helps you to do so is welcome. Step 5. Develop simple slides with minimal text. Although visualization helps, in presentations the rule is opposite. The slides you prepare shouldn't be overflowing with text or visual aids. This will distract viewers from the essential information and make them lose focus on what really matters. The first thing to remember: slides are just part of the presentation, even the main part. If slides are the most important part of your presentation, then why not just email them to everyone? Remember that you don't deliver text, you deliver a whole experience, including emotions. Slides alone can't do that. They back up or remember what you say. In terms of numbers, it's often thought that in a 15-30 minutes presentation, there should be no more than 15 slides, and each slide should have no more than 3 rows, each with a maximum of 5 words. On the other hand, different presentations addressed to different target groups require a more diverse approach, but it's advisable to try to stay around these figures. For the font, try not to change it during the presentation. 2 fonts, for example one for titles and one for content, should be sufficient. Also, try to keep the font size and color by having the same for titles, content, and annotations accordingly. Make sure they are legible and the letters don't have too many decorations. It's often thought that sans serif fonts, those without the small tails on the letter, are more appropriate. Also remember that if you download fonts from the internet, they will only be available on your computer. Once you open the slide of another that doesn't install them, they will be replaced with standard ones, so you will need to install them there as well. Make sure there is enough contrast between the font and the background to make the text easy to read. You should also make sure that the text size is large enough so the people sitting in the last row or furthest from the screen continue to read. If there is more text that you would like to add, some reports or something that cannot fit in the 15 slides, you can create material to hand out but at the end of the presentation. You should avoid offering it in the beginning, as people will start to read it instead of paying attention to your presentation. Be sure to announce that such a document is available from the beginning. You can use different wallpapers as well as more interactive forms for your presentation. Here are some examples. Step 6. Practice your presentation. It's no coincidence that Steve Jobs, with all his experience to speak in front of people, practiced months in advance. The best way is to show confidence and to master and convey the right emotions. By rehearsing your presentation, you can also make changes to it when you feel things are not quite right, further improving it. Whether you are rehearsing on your own with your computer, in front of camera to review your presentation and see what needs to improve or to test your audience. The moments spent in it are the moments invested in a perfect presentation, which in most cases makes the difference between success and failure in your job. Remember to use this not only for rehearsals but also for getting feedback for your work. There are groups on the internet that you can practice presenting to, and people who don't know how to give you feedback on how to improve. The benefit here is that you will receive impartial feedback and know what works and what doesn't work in your presentation. Step 7. Presentation itself. Probably the most difficult part, involving overcoming emotions and fears. Yet, with enough practice and previous experience, things should be learned. Here are some things to keep in mind when presenting. First and foremost, don't be monotonous. Never deliver your message with the same tone or pace from start to finish. Change the tone, emphasize different words that are important in the sentence, use pauses. Change the tempo. Be enthusiastic or tell a joke. The constant tone of your voice is a key factor to keep your audience awake. Be strong and clear enough to make sure they hear you, but not too loudly. Imagine you are talking to the person from the bottom of the room and adjust the volume accordingly. Don't talk too fast. Nervousness can sometimes make you talk faster. This is a defense mechanism of your brain because the faster you talk, the less stress you have. Try to control this. In addition, when presenting to an audience that doesn't speak the language as a native, even the normal pace can be difficult to understand all the details, so keep that in mind. Don't read from your slideshow. If you made the mistake of adding an abundance of text of your slides, you may be tempted to read them, instead to speaking freely to your audience. Keep in mind that the people against you can also read, and that your role is not to recite a text that has already been written, but to use that text as a summary of new information and emotion you supply. Moreover, people cannot read and listen at the same time, so if you have too much text, their attention will be focused on one of the two, more often on the text than on you. Use the right vocabulary. Consider your audience and what words are right for it. Not everyone can understand different technical terms or worse jargon. In addition, when you speak a language that is foreign for your audience, most phrases or words that don't belong to the commonly used dictionary are often difficult to understand. Use body language. This is especially important here. Here are some aspects that are important but often overlooked. Eye contact. Keep your posture open. Don't show your stress. Don't move too much. Changing your position, especially when introducing new items into your presentation, is not recommended. Continuously moving from your place to another will make people more focused on your movement than on your words. Smile and be enthusiastic. How can your audience be more enthusiastic about you? If you don't show that you are excited about what you are presenting, why should your audience invest their attention in that? Start with a short summary, finish with a review. First, let people know what you're talking about, so that you can create the right context in their mind and connect with their interests and the content you provide. Complete a brief overview of your presentation to remind people what you are talking about. Engage your audience. After listening and listening and listening, most people will be left out of what you say unless something catches their attention. Interacting with them is one of the best ways to get their attention. Ask your audience for their opinion on a particular topic. Do a quick survey of them. E.g., anyone who has previously been on a youth exchange, please raise your hand. Give them a chance to get involved. If a question comes up in the middle of a presentation, that's great. That means someone is listening. The best presentations are described as conversations, so try to encourage this kind of interaction as much as possible. Dale Carnegie, one of the most successful authors of public speaking and cultivation, wrote in one of his books that, just as you can learn to swim without getting wet, you can't master public speaking without actually speaking in front of a group. No book in this world can compensate for that actual experience. If we go a little further, we can add the following. Being in the water is not enough to learn to swim. Just being or speaking to an audience will not make you a good public speaker. You should always evaluate your performance and improve anything that doesn't seem right. And don't forget that what you have here is just basis for your work. It's up to you to decide what is best to upgrade and how to do it. Don't forget to visit our webpage www.studyathome.eu. Here you'll find more materials about leadership, project planning, and art of communication. Thanks for watching us!